Okay, what I'm going to do now is show you some traditional COBOL I/O, but with a little bit of a twist here. What I'm going to do first is come up here and create a new project here. So I'll go File, New, and then Project. And as you can see, I see my standard COBOL projects come up here. Now, under normal circumstances, I'd probably choose just a COBOL application. But what I want to do is show you something just a tad different. So I'll do this, start it out as a class library, and I'll just go ahead and name this something a little bit more meaningful. We'll call this file underscore, let me set up the thing here, file underscore IO, and that basically takes care of it. So that's the name of my project, and of course you see the solution name is there, and of course I'm going to create a directory for the solution under my D sample subdirectory. I'll go ahead and say, oh, okay, and now what you'll see is my Solution Explorer is now populated with all of the components that are necessary for this project. So you see my references there, and of course you'll see my source files. So this will be class 1, which is my internal name, and of course I can have it as fileio.class1. I'm going to make a few changes here. I want to go ahead and create a static object, and again, there's a reason for this. I could go ahead and put all of this in my instance objects, but one of the things that you're going to need to remember is that whenever you have I/O components or I/O logic embedded in your instance object, there is a potential for a bit of a problem. And that problem is that if you're trying to write to a record, then there is a potential for some contention there. Reading records, scrolling through record is not a problem. It only comes into play when you're actually writing records. So I'm very cautious when I use my I/O components and try to do anything with writing records, and especially where the instance object is concerned. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and create my static object. Again, I'll insert a snippet. You've seen how I've done this before. I'll insert my static paragraph and of course make the appropriate adjustments to this. And what I'll want to do is go ahead and add a few additional things here. So I'm going to go ahead and put my environment division in there. Let me go ahead and okay, there's my environment division, and I'm going to have an input-output section. And I'm going to want to go ahead and put in some file control. It would help if I put that in there like so. And now I'm going to go ahead and put in my select statement. So again, here what I'm going to do is do a select in file. Assign to, let's go ahead and do it like this, d:\\backslash data, and I think I called it file1.dat. And now that should take care of that. And I need to put in my organization, line sequential, and there we have it. Okay, so that looks good, no problem there. Then I've got my data division, I've got my working storage section. I'll go ahead and get rid of this thing right here, and I've got a procedure division. And again, I'm going to go ahead and kind of clean up all of this, and now I'm ready to go ahead and put in some code here. Now, okay, now I've got all that cleaned up. Now I've got to add a couple of other things in here. I'm going to go ahead and put in my file section, and I need an FD, and we'll call this in file, and I need an O1 level, and I'll make that a picx for 132, and that should take care of that. Okay, so there's working storage right there, procedure division. Okay, it looks like I got everything all squared away here. Again, I'm just going to kind of clean up this just a little bit. I don't want too much white space in there because we'll want to be able to see it all. Okay, so at this particular point, one would normally think that, okay, I could go ahead and just start typing in all of the stuff here that I needed. So if I go ahead and type in open in file, let's see, open input, like so. Notice that I'm getting an error. See the little squiggly line there, and when I hover over that, the word open is invalid in this context. Well, again, the reason is because anything in here in the static between the static here has to be in a method. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and remedy that situation. If I go ahead and right mouse click, I'll go ahead and cut that out because again, I know that that's valid code. I just have to put it inside of a method. So I'll right mouse click, insert a snippet, and then I'll put in my method ID in here, and then I'll go ahead and put in all the appropriate code. So I'll call this method ID main and get rid of all of this nonsense right here, and of course I'll get rid of all of this. Now I'm gonna do this in a little bit of a different way, primarily because I wanted to show you that there are other ways of making this work. Now in this particular instance, again, this internal method name is not going to be exposed out to the rest of the .NET world. So this is only internal here to COBOL, and this is more traditional way of building up a COBOL program. I'm going to go ahead and paste my existing COBOL code, and you notice now I don't have any problem with that particular line of code. There's no little red squiggly line there. So at this particular point, I could go ahead and read my input file, and I could, let's say I want to display in got to make sure that I spell all that stuff correctly, and I'll close my record there, and that ends the method right there. So you add one more blank line again so that we can see this little block of code and it kind of stands out a little bit better. So at this particular point, I should be able to compile this and everything should be fine. Now I'm going to go ahead and kind of clean this up just a little bit because I don't need this instance object. So I'll go ahead and delete all of that. And again, this is perfectly acceptable to do. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and build this. So build file IO, and again, I'll come over here and bring up the output window, and you can see what's going on. Okay, so I've got an error, and there's something wrong here in the code. So again, I've intentionally done something that's bad. So if I put in here, let's see, display comes right down to the error. Well, it would help if I spelled it correctly, and now it's fine. Now again, you'll notice that in this particular instance, display, your first clue should have been that the word display didn't change colors. Again, the reserved words are often a different color than the regular text. So again, I want you to get used to working with the debugger, working with the compiler, and seeing errors as they happen. So again, this should work just fine now. So if I go ahead and say build file IO, I should be able to come to the output, and now it should go ahead and compile without a problem. And as we can see here, 1 succeeded, or up to date, 0 failed, 0 skipped. Okay, so if you'll recall back in the previous lesson, I went ahead and changed the properties on this class library. Again, we have to have a way to specifically identify a entry point for class library, and especially in this particular situation because I'm actually going to make this a regular COBOL program that's going to be a console application. So again, I want to come down here, right mouse click on the the project, come down here to properties and open that up, and again change this from class library to console application. And if I come over here to startup object, you can see I can see my main class right there. So I'll go ahead and save this and close this window, and now I should be all set and ready to go. Now what I'll do is, in this particular case, I'm going to go ahead and set up a breakpoint right there for the open, and I'll go ahead and just start debugging this. Now one of the things that will happen, you'll notice the debugger will come to a stop, and as you could probably see down in the lower left hand corner it says build started. When I made that change, made this a console application, again it meant that I would have to go ahead and start running the rebuild. So again, what I'll do is I'll just kind of make this so that you can actually see what's going on, and kind of minimize that so that you can actually see that there's a console window there. And if I go in here, you'll see that I see my breakpoint right here, and again this is the next statement that'll be executed. So I can go ahead and step into it or step over it. So I'll step into it. So you'll now see the reading the in file, and now I'll display the in file record, and I've got a data in there. And just to show you that I've not getting anything else up my sleeve here or anything like that, I'll go ahead and show you that I actually have data out there. And let's see, samples data, and there's my file 1.dat. And I'll go ahead and open this up in just a moment. But I'll go ahead and close this first. So I'll go ahead and step the rest of the way and method, and it'll go ahead and close up that. Now what I'll do is I'll go ahead and bring up my notepad so that you can actually see um, the contents of the data file. Again, it's kind of important to be able to understand what's going on here, so I'll just go ahead and drag that in there. And as you can see, I've got all A's, B's, and C's. And if I was to go ahead and set this up to word wrap, you'll notice that everything is wrapped around. Very similar to the way that things came out on the console part of the demonstration.